Is populism inherently good or bad? Is a car inherently good or bad? You can use a car to get from A to B, or you can use a car to drive into a group of people. I would define populism essentially as anti-elitism. So it's a situation where a political movement tries to pitch the nation against some kind of elite. That could be a sort of liberal or cultural elite. So you often see attacks on the metropolitan elite who live in London who don't know about the worries of people who live in the countryside, for example. Or it could be against a commercial elite. So, for example, when politicians will attack companies or philanthropists for exploiting the people and moving jobs overseas. It could be an attack on the political elite, so the traditional mainstream centre parties who are too progressive and are ignoring the will of the people. Populism by itself doesn't necessarily, it doesn't come with a political ideology by itself. So that's why I add populist authoritarianism, because it's anti-elitism coupled with authoritarianism. And the way I understand authoritarianism is a political agenda which favours pulling power towards the executive. So taking it away from the legislative and concentrating it in a prime minister or a president. It means taking away the power of independent courts who can try and stop governments from abusing their power. It's about shutting down independent media so that the only messages the media carry are government messages. It is about taking away rights of minorities. It's about reinstalling inequality in traditional social hierarchies, so putting women back in the home, back in the kitchen. It's about taking away marriage equality for LGBT people. And it's also about limiting human rights more generally, so getting rid of the right to protest. You shouldn't be able to go out there and criticize the government. It's also about prioritizing security over things like privacy. It's about prioritizing punishment for prisoners and putting people behind bars rather than rehabilitation. So it's the antithesis of civil liberties and human rights and democratic pluralism. The term progressive refers to, I guess, basically the thing that all European countries agreed on after the Second World War, which was that we need democratic pluralism, we have to have safeguards to prevent the abuse of government power, we need free press, we need independent courts, and we need minimum standards of protection for everybody in society, a right to vote, a right to freedom from torture, a right to freedom from unlawful imprisonment, and we also need to give people equal opportunities in society to fully realize their potential. So we have to have education for everybody, we have to have good healthcare, we have to have high quality housing, we have to have adequate standard of living for the whole population. So for me, that is what progressive means. It's kind of the ground zero of where any European state should be building itself from, regardless of political colour. I think what populist authoritarians try to do is use this idea of democracy and say that democracy is the will of the majority. But that's not really what democracy is. Democracy is a system in which all voices are heard. So it's not about one voice, it's not about the voice of the 51%. It's about the voice of the whole of society. And populist authoritarians try to shut down all of those different voices in favour of their own.